We are PodcastVideos.com. Our goal is to educate, enlighten, engage, and entertain. We believe in the power of love and transformation through storytelling.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dan Kraft, and it's story scaling time again. You recognize the ones that are with me. We got Coco, we got Baang. And what we're talking about today is music in podcasts. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about use, about legalities, about free music options. And you guys are here because in addition to being valued staff members here at PodcastVideos.com,
Thank you, Dan.
you are both recording artists on the Lovemore Records label.
Yeah.
So we got people here who actually have some musical talent. Then we have me.
Dan, I don't know. You got a little bit of talent in you, Dan.
Not musically. I can barely play a stereo. So, but you guys are both recording artists. You've both been doing it for a while.
Yep.
You've dealt with the idea of people trying to use music, your music even, in various settings.
Sure.
You can't just steal. Boost somebody's music, lay it over your podcast for an intro, for a clip. You can't take the video and just play it without paying the artist. Or at least that's how it works in a very simplified theory. There are agents and record labels and everything else all over it. But music, particularly for intros and outros, can be an important part of a podcast development.
Totally.
How do you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, admittedly, I don't have all the answers.
I don't think anybody does. At this point.
Exactly. Nobody really knows. I mean, I do agree with you wholeheartedly. It is not good practice to just rip a song off the internet or
Even a short bit of one.
No, you can't do that. I mean, at some point, we see it every day. People get their content taken down for licensing purposes, even on social media, like much less a full-length episode release on, Spotify or Apple or anywhere. Like, people will take your clips off social media if you are using music that you don't have the license or the rights to use.
Because this is pretty and arguably a commercial use of music.
Yes.
Totally. 100%. The radio station plays the song for us to hear in the car. There's a royalty there.
Oh, yeah, somebody's getting paid off of that. And so I think it's just a matter, the first thing I would say is, how do you do it is do your due diligence. I mean, if you can't find royalty-free music, you brought up a good point. People are now creating custom jingles and just, making music for specific purposes like intros, outros. And so
this is a specialized area of music that's not trying to put out a song that goes on the radio. This is jingle writing, for lack of a better term.
100%. And there's tons of companies out there that do it. You can find a 15-second bit, 10-second bit that you can slap on the front of your podcast on the back of it. So I would say the first thing I would say is just be mindful of where you are getting your music and where it's coming from.
Yeah. And I would look at those contracts because even for us, like if we buy something from online, there's like in that small print that it's for use for only 5 years or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or only 10 years.
You haven't necessarily bought it straight out with no strings attached for all time.
So if you know somebody that makes music, even better.
Right.
Sure.
Now you do. Now you do.
If you know me and Coco, like, what are you doing? Call. Pick up the phone.
Right.
For the folks that don't necessarily want to pay for custom music, hate to say it, don't want to pay the artist.
Yeah.
There is free music out there. This is generally, it's pretty much AI generated. This is simple samples, lots of options out there, lots of genres, lots of speeds and tempos, but there is a way to get music without having to custom create it, having to hire a guy with a guitar or a keyboardist. Let's talk a little bit about those availabilities. There's sites out there where you can
100%.
pretty well
Yes.
customize a little. It's not a full-length song necessarily, but you can get a little intro, outro that is custom.
100%. And I'll speak from both sides. I'm the artist, so I believe in paying artists. You know what I mean? I believe people should be compensated for like the work that they put in. Shout out to Addie off cam. You know what I'm saying? I got my girl Addie in the studio with us. We shouting her out.
Hey.
But
Yeah, we didn't want to put the intern, or not even intern, just somebody job shadowing today in the camera shop. But she is listening to how we put these together.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're not making ourselves look too bad.
Well, that commercial's over. But Yeah, I mean, Dan, to your point, I think that's something that we don't even think a lot about. Is it's 2024, and so there are free resources available everywhere you turn. If you know how to leverage artificial intelligence, you can literally go on one of these servers and ask, "I'm looking for royalty-free music, of no cost to me that I want to use for my podcast," and it will spit out just endless resources. And so, if you are in position to buy a custom jingle or find, like you were saying, Coco, an artist friend that can create something specific, then I think that's always cool to do, right? But if you're not, then there's a ton of just different options that you could utilize.
Yeah, I know. For example, for some of our ads, we go to YouTube, the YouTube audio library, because you can search on there.
Whoa, you giving the secret sauce, Coco? You giving the secret sauce? Okay, I like that.
I gotcha.
I think most people have heard of YouTube at this point.
Yeah, YouTube. But have they heard of YouTube audio library?
Nah, this is an exclusive.
See, she did it again.
And then, for example, I just found an AI tool called, I think it's like Rightify, that makes royalty-free music. I haven't tried it yet, but if anybody does,
And
let me know how it is.
There's a dozen of these out there.
Oh,
Yes.
it's countless.
Now, trying to get a hold of, I don't know, Drake or Guns N' Roses music, you better be a pretty famous podcaster even to try that, so that the agent will take your call.
Absolutely.
Anybody who thinks that maybe will take a long shot at that, that's a long shot.
Oh yeah, and I think you got to be real about it. Like, there's people every day that are using Drake songs and Guns N' Roses hits, like, for their music. I mean, for their podcast or whatever the case may be, right? And so we acknowledge the fact that it happens. I'm just saying, to cover all of your bases and be as in the green as you can possibly be, you want to get permission to use this stuff.
The term that gets kicked around in legal circles is fair use. That's for everything from the music to, taking a snippet of our podcast to put on yours. There are lawyers that make good money arguing that, but if we're doing a podcast about Guns N' Roses, let's say, then there is an argument that you can use the Guns N' Roses music within the podcast without.
Sure.
Now, are we going to try that without consulting the lawyers?
Yeah.
That's why we don't have an episode on Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So, from the artist perspective,
Sure.
Putting together these shorts, these custom jingles, is it harder than writing regular music, than doing songwriting or development? Is it just a different way of thinking about it?
I think it's a different way of thinking, but I think it's also just more enjoyable because you have a purpose for making it, versus like whenever you are first just writing a song, you kind of have to think as to, okay, what am I feeling today? How have I been feeling for the last month? Now it's like, like, for example, O'Reilly's is trying to get a new jingle.
Okay, that's gonna be stuck in my head for about a month.
Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, they've just like massed it to everybody, like saying, hey, we're looking for a new jingle, and people are submitting what they, what they came up with. No.
The idea is that you've got a structure to build around. You're not starting from ground zero of, I should write a song.
Totally.
Now what? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a mentor tell me space is as infinitely small as it is large. So sometimes when you don't know, like, what to do or what somebody's looking for, creativity is stifled. But if you come to me and you say, hey, I need a jingle, it's 15 seconds, the podcast is about, music, and I want it to have an upbeat tempo. Now your brain can just
want something in a country theme, or I want something with a hard beat.
100%. It's to Coco's point, it's almost easier to do that because you know what deliverable you have, as opposed to just going in with the world as your oyster. It's like, do I make a techno song? Do I make a hip hop song? Do I make a disco? Like, you just, sometimes the options are.
I don't do any of those things.
I don't know, dude.
So, guys, that's a good primer for everybody. Just careful with your music use. Obviously, somebody wrote it. Somebody deserves to get paid for it, but there are free options out there to put together something that's truly unique to your podcast.
Totally.
Absolutely.
What are we going to close with? Your space is
O'Reilly.
I was going to go way more profound.
I like that. Go ahead.
Your space is as infinitely small as it is large.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
I like that.
Okay, good deal.
Cool.
Guys, this has been our quick hit discussion on how to use music in your podcast. I'm Dan Kraft. There's Bang. Yep. There's Coco. This has been Story Scaling. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.